Hi guys, it's day 2 of the TUC Black Workers Conference. I'm outside of it because I like mingling with people, and more importantly, it's a safe space in there. So what they're talking about is all fine. It's confined to the actual conference. But out here, it's not. And thankfully, I've been able to meet with Donna from the Palestinian Solidarity Campaign, and I wanted to actually discuss a couple of things with her. I managed to speak with Ben Jamal, at the TUC Congress last year, and it was quite fascinating because recently, since October the 7th, there has been a campaign against, how many people have now perished under Israeli?
More than 30,000.
Definitely more than 30,000, and more than half of them are children. This is not a proportionate response by any means, and far worse than that. I know a lot of people are going to say, but what about Hamas, and do you condemn Hamas, and blah blah blah, and all the rest of that stuff. This isn't what this is about. This has gone far beyond that. That's my opinion, and feel free to come at me. But what I want to talk to Donna about is a couple other things as well. Like, what is the campaign actually about? Solidarity.
The Palestine Solidarity Campaign is the biggest cohesive lobbying group in the world now for Palestinian solidarity, and we work with. There was actually a coalition of groups in the UK, so we work with the Muslim Council of Great Britain, Friends of Al-Aqsa, Stop the War, and Palestinian Forum of Great Britain. So at the moment they're the coalition of groups that are organising all these marches and demonstrations. We lobby Parliament. We had a lobby day on Wednesday. We arranged 80 meetings with MPs, and we were this time round we were talking about stop harming Israel. So the focus of the lobby day was to ask our MPs who represent us to actually represent our views and to put forward actions to stop selling arms to Israel. Just recently, there were three aid workers and 2 support security British people who were killed, deliberately killed. Their convoy of vehicles, they had 3 vehicles, were on an approved route by the IDF, yet they were bombed 3 times and they were killed. 2 days later, the British government sold arms to Israel after that event. So we're lobbying the government to stop selling arms, and basically, there's a whole raft of requests that we sort of make to our MPs to support Palestinian independence, and also we've been trying for a very, very long time to get them to support a Palestinian state, but although some other countries have gone that route, we're still holding back.
Should we write stuff down? So sorry I didn't get a chance for you to check it through.
No problem. Catch up with. When you have live interviews like this, that happens. It's not the first time. I had that yesterday as well with the Morning Star, and with you. So don't worry. But just getting back to it. Sorry.
Yeah.
You were saying that you have done not only just stopping the arms sales, and we've seen that still take place, but you also talked about international recognition for Palestinian as a state, a two-state solution.
Not necessarily a two-state solution.
Yeah, because I'm not. I'll have to put my hands on the table. I'll say I'm not for a two-state solution.
Well, Palestinian Solidarity Campaign is a Palestinian-led organisation, and what that means is we don't dictate to the Palestinians what they should do. The Palestinians tell us what they want, and that's what we fight for on their behalf. So if the Palestinian people said they want a two-state solution, we're up for that. If they say they want a one-state solution, but that's not part of our remit.
Yeah.
We're not making their laws for them.
Yeah.
We just want our government to acknowledge their part in the history of what happened in Palestine, obviously with Balfour and all these things.
Of course.
Since then.
And then Nakba and all the rest of that. That's come out to light recently.
Yeah, and the unfortunately the government and the Labour Party often go back to this two-state solution where we've had that for quite a long time, and it's all that has happened is that the Israeli settlements have increased, and it's become more and more and more unlikely. It's feasibly impossible on the ground now. If you visit, you will see that a two-state solution is practically impossible.
Yeah, I mean, the Venezuelan government, the Albanian government, quite a few governments have already given recognition to the state of Palestine. And this leads to more of a wider argument, because since it's interesting how things like from the river to the sea has now become twisted from emancipation, pro-Palestine, liberation against oppression into, it's anti-Semitic. It's calling for the eradication. Now, again, Hamas has been pointing out there that we want to get rid of the state of Israel. Whether that's blowing it off the map or whether it is eradicating.
Where did you get that from?
That's from right-wing media.
Yeah.
One that everything's going to be from right-wing media, and this is where it's so important to have things like this, because we need to show that that is not the case. You know, I don't think that emancipation is wrong, and I don't believe that Hamas really wants to eradicate Israel. They want to just be free, eradicate the borders that have been set up by Israel that created the Gaza, the biggest open-air prison. As much as Ben Shapiro would like to say the Israelis left Gaza, but they put up walls, they put in restriction of movement, they put in a visa system to get in and out for work permits, and this is something that Histradrut on the ground in Israel have also been fighting against, according to Peter Lerner. I say according to, but we do have to recognise that there are Israelis and there are people who are from a Jewish background that do not support the actions of the Israeli government.
Very many, there are many.
And we've seen that within the Labour Party, we've seen that with some of the Conservatives. I say some, not a lot.
Yeah.
But it is out there, and they should not be branched as traitors, because it is against a sovereign state.
Yes.
And the actions of the government and their policy. How do you find the fight against the overwhelming support within the right-wing media in terms of their narrative that's being pushed out there? How are you finding the fight back against that?
Well, actually, we don't find it an overwhelming support for the right-wing media. We find it dwindling, and the overwhelming support is actually for Palestine, especially since October the 7th.
I didn't mean in that sense. I mean in the sense of when we're looking within the right-wing media, and elements of the mainstream media is being influenced by the right-wing narrative. So the BBC will take a right-wing narrative.
Right, yeah.
So, and anyone who says anything separate to that, it's weird when I say it this way, but it tends to be more people from an ethnic background that would be much more supportive, and when we're seeing that, there seems to be a clash against that sort of thought. There seems to be a
Well, that's predictable though, isn't it? They're always going to do that.
So
as the person said, he would say that, wouldn't he? We actually don't really need to fight against it because it's evident. All you have to do is look beyond the mainstream media and look beyond the right. I tend to try to avoid the right-wing media. If I'm driving and LBC's on, I turn it off as I'll probably crash my car. I get too annoyed. So I tend to avoid it. Unfortunately, poor Ben Jamal, he gets stuck with all these questions all the time, and it takes up a lot of time. And it's a distraction. It's a distraction from the reality and the truth that we want to emphasise. The right-wing media are going to spread these lies anyway.
Yep.
There's nothing, all you can do is to show the truth, and that is what we have been doing, highlight the truth. And that's evident, it's all over social media, it's all over the internet. The truth is there, you can see it. So
we're seeing it to the point where TikTok got banned in the USA
exactly
because, and we see it with the algorithm. And this is what I'm talking about. How do you fight it? Because even with the algorithms on social media, they have found keywords and they've used that to reduce the exposure of people to. I've seen guys go from thousands of views down to hundreds. From hundreds of likes down to tens. It has been quite a high-tech way of reducing the narrative.
The actual price list is down there
sorry,
somewhere. In the
I won't edit this out because you need this.
you know what? It's not on the price list. Oh no.
Hey, business happens and it keeps going even while interviews are taking place.
I'll find out for you. Sorry about that.
And bubble wrap, the best.
I believe the bags are £20, but I don't know about the scarf. Yeah.
God, this takes me back. Did you ever have acne?
Oh no. Good t-shirt, by the way. Very good t-shirt. Now
Sorry.
I've forgotten where we were.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about the algorithms on social
Oh,
media.
right,
because
yeah.
Even though there is a big push and it exposes more than what the media, mainstream media is showing, right-stream media, even left-wing media in our media, on terrestrial TV and satellite TV. The only ones who are able to show a little bit more will be the Al Jazeera's, and even then they are a little bit on the limited side on that basis.
Yeah.
But how are you combating it seems like a relentless attack in more ways than one.
Yeah.
It's like a three-pronged attack. You've got the attack on mainstream terrestrial TV, the print media, and Tommy Robinson, and his fans, and then you've also got the big tech who are reducing the narrative.
Yeah.
So, an exposure to the narrative.
Yeah.
So, how can one combat that?
There's only one way, and that is the people. The people support us. I mean, you only have to look at what's been happening in the universities, especially in America.
Yeah, oh yeah.
There's a saying in France that if you're against, when the students rebel, they're always on the right side of history. And this is what is happening, and it's spreading. I mean, I never thought, knowing America as I do, I never thought I would see that kind of support in the university, and it's been incredible. And the overwhelming support that we have had over the last 7 months, the marches, the millions of people that have turned out, each week, it's increasing. The number of branches we've got is over 100. So basically, the way to combat it is to just spread the truth. It's not. We don't want to be diverted by, these stories that they put out, which, just like the recent story about, trying to cross the road, was turned out to be a false narrative. A false narrative. So what's the point in PSC spending hours and hours in meetings and conferences and press calls about that? That's not important to us. That's not important. They're trying to divert our attention and take our time.
Yeah.
And what we always tell our members to do is, you can't persuade a committed pro-Israeli Zionist to change their mind. They're not going to, but they will take your time and your energy. So don't waste it.
That's what I'm also
Use your time to talk to people that are genuinely interested, are genuinely unhappy about the status quo, and don't want to see all the people being killed. People that maybe they don't understand the history of the situation, or they haven't followed, the political sort of situation too closely. I think any decent person is not going to want to see children being blown to bits.
No one.
And that's the way we challenge it, is by focusing on the facts, not the lies spread by the media.
But this is the other thing, because it's quite clear the Palestinians are not viewed as human beings.
Yeah.
To begin with. So even on a humanitarian basis, they've been dehumanized.
Yeah.
So even children, it seems as though let's kill the next generation of potential Hamas supporters or freedom fighters or whatever you want to label
Or
them.
doctors, or teachers, or
Doesn't matter,
scientists,
they're all
or
one and the same.
museum. They're more.
that's how they
They're
look at
more.
it.
Yeah, but these people that they're killing, it's the future of the Palestinian state. There could have been a Nelson Mandela among those children they've killed.
They could have, but there isn't.
And even in the West Bank, they target anybody who gets a little bit of a profile as somebody who's being listened to, somebody who's got a bit of, intelligence and authority when they speak. They're targeted and they're killed. This is the way that they are working.
Palestinian Liberation Authority or organisation, you've got exactly that, and the way how they've made everyone out to be a terrorist. You just have to listen to Israeli IDF spokespeople, or you have to listen to their ambassadors. You can just hear it. There
It
is
is
no
blatant racism. I mean, if the tables were turned, and Palestinian or any Arab race, was saying those things about Israelis, then there would be uproar.
Well, this is the other thing I want to bring up, because basically there is a powerful lobby.
Yeah, very.
You know, within the Conservative Party, within the Labour Party, you've got Friends of XYZ, so on and so forth, Friends of Israel. But the Arab nations, including Jordan, we see where they're on with Pakistan. They was even on their visa system that if you're from Israel, you're not allowed in the country, in Iran, and we saw it happening in Iran. But why do you feel that there's a reluctance within, you know, the Arab nations? Is it because of the American nations? Or do you
That's a really, really big subject, and that's not really something that the Palestinian Solidarity Campaign is involved in. We don't do that kind of wider world geopolitics. We're focusing on our government in this country and the opposition in this country to fight for Palestinian rights. It's not. We don't get involved in issues that are affecting, you know, other regions.
Okay, well that's good to know, and thank you for clearing that point, because I know that there was going to be a lot of people saying the same thing.
People do say that, but it's not our focus. Our focus is to lobby our government, to build the movement, and to support Palestine from the UK. We've got really good connections. We do lots of events as well as the political lobbying, and you know, we bring speakers over. We sponsor some speakers sometimes to come over, and so that, you know, what we do is UK based. We're not looking at what's happening in, you know, in the surrounding area. That's not doesn't come under our remit.
Well, we'll bring back to the UK in terms of trade unions, because trade union movements in many aspects have actually called for ceasefire.
Yeah.
Immediate ceasefire. No humanitarian pause or anything like that. And again, we see you here at TUC Congress at the moment. You know, I don't see anyone else. You know, so how do you feel the trade union movement can help more in terms of impacting, you know, and supporting Palestine without looking as though that they're being anti-Israeli or perceived as anti-Semitic? Because that seems to be the case now.
I've only been here for an hour or so, but it's really great to see so many people walking past with kaffirs and Palestine t-shirts. We do want to call on the unions to stand up a little bit more and shout a little bit more. They do have that power. There have been reports in certain countries of dock workers coming out and stopping the ships being the arms shipments being docked or shipped or whatever.
Yeah, Turkey was one of the places. I think also along that route towards Israel, they were just stopping it.
Yeah.
And it's not just the Houthis attacking, but these are actual proper.
Yeah.
We're not allowing this. I think Egypt was one of the countries.
I can't really remember. I've got a feeling that Spain was involved at some point. Yeah.
It's definitely some European countries.
Yeah.
But it does seem as though, you know, again, I'm going to sound racist, but the darker skin that you are, the more support you're given. But in the UK, that's definitely not the case. It's, you know, definitely more the case of we're a bit more united, and you know, we appreciate what you're doing on the ground, because you're facing a barrage of abuse everywhere, and again, it has been twisted by the right-wing media, and we saw it with South Africa. This is a apartheid state in every single sense of a definition, because they're doing it to, I hate to say this, just using this as the example, this is still the state of Israel as identified by the United Nations, and within that state, because it was originally Palestine, reducing time and time again, you know, this is a big thing. You know, they are the people who are in the state of Israel, even though you may call it Palestine as well, the little West Bank and areas like that, they're doing it to people on their ground. And don't, you know, there's no point for it. There's no reason for it. They should have a united state at most. That's why I'm not for a two-state solution. You know? A single state for me.
What we're calling for at the moment is freedom and equality.
Yeah.
Don't go, I mean, as I said before, we're not what the Palestinians decide on their future, that's what we support. But what we can say from here is freedom and equality and equal rights, which they don't have at the moment. So one of the other ways, the important way, as we were talking about the unions as well, that we can do that is with BDS. Now the government have been trying sneakily to crack down on
Is that the
BDS.
boycott?
Boycott, divestment and sanctions.
Yeah.
So the government have been sneakily trying to put these laws through that will stop
Criminalised.
no, it's not criminalising it.
I think they've done it in America.
Stop like universities and public buildings from practicing BDS. So whereas in the past we could lobby against certain events being held in certain public buildings, they're trying to make that illegal so that public buildings are not allowed to discriminate against Israel. So they would not be allowed to boycott events. Israeli, there are several that's happened several times this year already. There have been events that have been held in theatres, Royal Society of Arts, and a few others that we have objected to. They've been sponsored by the State of Israel. So we don't feel that public buildings should be hosting those kind of events, but the government are trying to make that, a rule that the public bodies cannot discriminate against Israel. That they have to hold these, if they're required to, they have to hold these events, which we don't agree with. So boycott and divestment, we have got some targets. Elbit is one of them. Elbit Systems they're a weapons manufacturer. They've got sites all across the UK. That's another thing that the unions could, sort of take more notice of. And Barclays Bank also. Barclays Bank finances through their investments. They invest in weapons manufacturing. That's another one that's on our boycott list. Barclays doesn't have a very good history. If you look back to their history of in South Africa, it was the same. We were boycotting them then as well. So, and of course sanctions against various corporations and also individuals. The government recently talked about sanctioning two settlers. I think they're dual nationals.
Yeah.
We've got a long list we could give them that of more people
yeah.
that could join that list.
Yeah, the Americans decided, just lastminute.com, they decided to start sanctioning, dual national American, settlers as well. But that's like twos and threes.
Yeah.
It's not even the tens or hundreds that are going in there all the time. I mean, I don't know what the actual solution is going to be, in the long term. I've got my opinions on it, but I hope that in the short term we can have a ceasefire.
That's the most important thing at the moment, yeah.
And I hope that they can start working together, tear down the wall, stop making this open environment.
Well, it's happened in the past. It's happened. Things that we thought unthinkable, like apartheid in South Africa, it stopped. I mean, it's not always a perfect solution and happiness from the next day. It doesn't always work that way, but it's a start, and it has to happen. And we won't stop. We won't stop fighting for it.
I guarantee this. If there's a government in the UK and the USA that decide at the same time we're not going to spend our money to support Israel,
That's not going to happen.
just overnight, the tables will turn so badly on Israel.
Oh yeah,
They're so well funded that they may have the best army, but clearly they haven't got the best government.
I wouldn't say they've got the best army looking at the videos I've been seeing.
No, they have. No, that's what I'm trying to say. They're the best army in terms of the funding that they get from the Western nations.
Yeah, they're very highly funded. Yeah.
And this. But you then look at the Palestinians and how they fought back using very little. Which is going to happen anyway.
Yeah.
And I hope that there is peace in the region, and I hope that everyone can come together to bring about a better solution as quickly.
Well, our support has been growing. Palestinian Solidarity Campaign support has been growing month on month. It's not waning. People are getting more and more and more angry that our politicians aren't taking notice, and it's gone from the last vote. I think it was in November about a ceasefire when a lot of people did not didn't vote for a ceasefire, or they abstained. That is changing. From our lobby day on Wednesday, there was a lot more support from politicians. Even MPs that historically have been on the fence are coming over to our side now. So there has been a bit of a change. I think people are sick of the murder and the horrific situation.
Not just over the last 6 months, it was well before October 7th
Oh yeah,
as well.
yeah.
And there's records of it left, right, and centre. And as much as Ben Shapiro loves to keep saying blah blah blah, let's face it, there is real evidence that he's a guilty. Because this comes from, again, lobby groups that are so supportive of Israel that the Palestinians don't have here in the USA or the UK. And I think what you guys are doing by lobbying in Parliament is an amazing job. You are facing an uphill battle. You know?
Yeah, it's going to be, and the next battle is going to be, of course, after the election. We'll see what happens then.
Which is on the 2nd of May. So this is before the election. So hopefully Sadiq gets in. Sorry. I'm a card-carrying Labour member. But even within the Labour Party, we've seen frictions between, you know, and there is a lot of memberships that do support what's going on with Palestine, not the Israeli side, but that there should be an elite ceasefire, you know, and
it's the only thing to be done for humanity. There's absolutely no excuse for what is happening. Nothing. Yeah, I mean, you'd have to be inhuman to think that this is justified.
But this is what it has been for. That
Yeah.
it isn't.
Yeah.
Because they're dealing with people.
That's
They
how it's
see the
been.
Palestinians,
Yeah.
they don't see them as humans
Yeah.
to begin with. You know? And this is where they've done that in South Africa.
Yeah, they did.
You know, they've done that colonially in India, before it became Pakistan, so on and so forth. So we've seen it right throughout history, and I hope that in the near future, people will look back on this and say, look, you know, we did take the right side of history in many ways. How can a person get involved with Palestinian Solidarity Campaign?
Easy. You sign up to our mailing list. You will eventually receive a member's pack.
Remember, she said eventually.
We're very overwhelmed with new members at the moment, so it's taking time to catch up with things. Wherever your local area is, we've got over 100 branches in the country now, so find out your local branch. You can go along to the meetings at your local branch and find out more how you can get involved. We do, as I said, at the moment the marches are every 3 weeks, but depending on day-to-day current situations, if something happens, there's sometimes we do call emergency demonstrations or whatever. But definitely sign up to the membership. You will get an email out. You know, you'll get your regular email with updates and news and information. So from that, you will get invited if we do have any more lobby days, or if we do have any events like that. You will get invited to those things. And also get involved in BDS. There's lots of resources online that you can look up to find out about the targets. You know, the ones that HP is another one with it's on the boycott. Barclays, if you bank with Barclays, change your bank account and tell your manager. Tell your manager why you're leaving. So HP Computers is another one. There are some sort of more, you know, sort of street level boycotts like Coca-Cola. Pret a Manger are opening 50 stores in Israel this year, so they're going on the boycott list. Puma we had a success with last year. Puma have stopped sponsoring the Israeli football team. Also, I mean, right now we've got the issue with Eurovision. We're trying to persuade Ollie Alexander to pull out from the Eurovision because Israel is performing.
So they won that. They won their thing to perform. Because there was quite a few countries that were saying.
There are some countries. I think a couple of countries have pulled out. Ollie Alexander at the moment, even though he has tweeted and posted in support of Palestine, he's still appearing. We're trying to pressure him to pull out. At the very least, use this platform of live TV to make a statement.
We've seen, look,
that's what I would do.
We've seen it with artists like Victoria Monet, some of the hip hop artists who are out there, and R&B artists that have actually said, look, you know, this is one what Israel did in Parliament. And again, it's difficult to say without being sanctioned, but they're putting their careers on the line
Yes,
as well
they are.
by even saying something.
Yeah.
And I think they need to have that support.
But they're on the right side of history.
And that's the big point.
Yeah.
They are on the right side. It's difficult. You know, I'm not even. I don't even have 300 followers on YouTube. I don't care, as long as the information's out there, someone can see it, and hopefully that'll persuade one person that can make a difference to say, yeah, I'll join this and be on the right side of it.
Yeah.
That's all this
Yeah.
is about. You guys have done a great job.
Well, we're a growing movement, so you won't be on your own. So sign up and join the PSC and be on the right side of history, and you'll get all the information and backup that you're going to need to learn more about Palestine.
Just one thing I want to ask you, because I did see the British-Israeli trade union dialogue.
Yeah. But the special conditions they got.
Well, it was more like, you know, because again, Peter Lerner was there supporting those guys. And you know, when he was coming out and saying it from the position of history, and again, only from the position of history, you know, because they represent more Palestinians on the ground. So, again, I don't know if they do or don't, I have to go according to them. But it sounded like, you know what, yeah, the trade union movement, they did bring the Israeli government to their knees, you know, by doing a general one-day strike and completely almost toppled the Netanyahu government. And I think once they've definitely changed the Netanyahu government to a much more level head.
No. The people waiting in the wings are worse than Netanyahu.
Oh.
They're worse.
I was hoping like the Labour Party in Israel, even though they're weak there, I'm hoping the Labour Party in Israel can get into power rather than the more...
The war in Israel has got a 78% approval rating. So, in fact, many in Israel want him to go harder.
Oh, great. So there's no way it's
But I mean, I don't really want to talk about Netanyahu, but we all know what his issues are. But yeah, no, there are worse people waiting behind Netanyahu to take over.
Well, one was actually going for an atomic strike on
Yeah,
Gaza.
yeah. Actually, so was a British ex-UKIP MP who runs a salmon firm in UK.
You know, the
You
funny
can look him up.
the funny thing is,
Boycott him. He sells in Waitrose and Ocado.
the funny thing that we were talking about there is now I lost my train of thought, but there was something that we were talking about that I don't know how best to express it, because you've got friends.
Careful. Yeah.
You got friends.
Yeah.
You know? You got enemies, and it's clear cut
Yeah.
who's on what side.
Yeah.
How do you convince the other side to open their mind and see what you are seeing?
That's what I said earlier. You're wasting your time. You're wasting your time. Like if a Zionist was to come to me and try, I mean, I have over the years. I have had 2 productive conversations with Zionists. Only 2 over the years, and one was in Hebron. There was a young American man who was like, "Let's talk. Let's talk." And he said, you know, he was very genuine, and he told me about his family's history. And he said, I don't want this, but I still believe that, you know, Israel is for Jews. And we had a good conversation. And the other one was a couple of years ago at Barbican. We were protesting an Israeli orchestra that came over, and one of the musicians came out to talk to us, and we had a good conversation. He was a similar age, he was a younger person. So it's quite rare that you can have those kind of conversations. And we ended them on a kind of mutual respect, that they had their deeply held, either religious or their beliefs were not necessarily religious, but from their family history, that this was something precious to them. But they didn't want the killing, they didn't want the fighting, they wanted another way, and that's the only way that we're going to go forward, is to recognise the humanity in each other. But as I said, that is rare. If you've got the people that are spouting these things about Palestinians not existing or being, you know, inhuman, don't even waste your time talking to those people. Don't waste your time. But yeah, you know, really, you can have a good conversation 2 times in 30 years.
Well, again, because we're here, and the government that we got to deal with, politicians we got to deal with, is in the UK. And when you hear about certain politicians on both sides, both Labour and the Conservatives, being funded in some ways by the Israeli lobbies, and they've been actually given those funding, has been exposed. I can't remember the name of the journalist who's done it.
Richard.
But there was also an Asian lady as well. She was on the podcast that used the information. And quite a few of the Labour Party candidates were exposed. So it makes it's quite difficult to convince these guys as well, because it's almost like they've been bought, they've been sold out.
It's not almost like, it is like.
It's
not a case of convincing them. I don't think that's possible. I think some of them have got their eyes on their career, and some of them maybe they don't have genuine motives. I can't say. I can't speak for them. There are a few good ones, but they do get pushed around a lot, and you have to be brave to stand up in that atmosphere. But there are a few. How we work with that, I have no idea. We just got to keep doing the lobbying. We've got to keep doing the lobbying and keep talking to them. And as I said, at the lobby day on Wednesday, we did get more people come over onto our side. So maybe they're seeing the light.
It was absolutely amazing. And again, there's at least hope at the end of it. I hope somewhere that in the near future, everything stops. There is a proper ceasefire. Again, to the hostages as well, that they are released fully, because then at least you hope that the killing of innocent children, women that have got nothing to do with any of this, they're just trying to live their day-to-day lives, also ends as well.
We have to bring in the West Bank, the situation in the West Bank.
Oh, that's getting worse and worse now.
There's over 8,000 Palestinians that are a different kind of hostage. They're in administrative detention, that is, they've been jailed without any charges.
Oh yeah. We've seen that with children. We've seen that with
children as well.
And when they finally get released after 15 years, because they tried it as a military court.
Yeah, exactly.
And this is not. As much as they like to say that Israel is a democratic state, clearly there's a lot more military.
There are 68 discriminatory laws against Palestinians in the West Bank and in Israel. And also there are three. There's civil law and military law. So the military law is just for Palestinians who are subject to it. The situation in the West Bank, while all eyes are on Gaza, the situation in the West Bank has got a hell of a lot worse. Of course. The settlers have been armed. Well, they were armed already, but they've been armed as paramilitary groups now. Just in the last 2 weeks, there have been 2 villages that have been razed to the ground by settlers, armed settlers. So while eyes are on Gaza, these things are going on in the West Bank where there's no Hamas. So
and that's what many Palestinians in common radio said. Hamas isn't in the West Bank.
Yeah.
I can't remember the guy, the PLO ambassador, Dr. Name escapes me. But even he's coming and said Hamas isn't there, so why are you attacking them?
The other thing that has happened is the economy, because in certain cities, not everywhere, but in certain cities, there have been crackdowns on freedom of movement. Well, there was already, but I mean even more crackdowns. So, for example, in Hebron, in the West Bank, there are curfews, there are more roadblocks than ever before, and businesses have been disrupted. So, for 7 months, people have not been able to go about their business and not been able to make money. Tourism has stopped. So, all of these things have affected the economy for Palestinians outside of Gaza as well.
So, all we can offer is a better day, a better solution.
Keep fighting.
And that's it. That's all that we can do. Because it took how many years to South Africa?
Yeah.
And it will take many.
And the Berlin Wall, that wall will fall.
Yeah, Berlin Wall will fall, and I hope that they bring down the walls in Gaza as well.
Yeah.
In the meantime, free Palestine. I'll always say that. I'll always say that.
And join PSC.
Yeah. And that's what we can do. And I hope that our politicians wake up. Our trade unions take a little bit more of a diplomatic, stronger stance. And do. And I hope that the social media platforms allow this to go out to more people. We need to show the other side of the argument.
Thank you. Thanks.
Guys, like I said, get involved, and if you guys don't know how to do that, you all need to get back to school. So says Hadi Naqvi. Thank you again, Donna.
Thank you.